I really feel like I'm a part of this community, and that's been a thing that I've been working on for many years. And that's also not to say that I'm even like the most liked person in this community, because there are plenty of people who don't like me, and that's okay. Like that is another part of this thing, that people have their preferences, and we all have histories, and like I have behaved badly in this business, and I have learned lessons from that and try to behave differently in retrospect. But like, there is something about winning that award that kind of felt like, oh, I am, for better and for worse, I'm a part of the New York theater community, and like, it's exactly where I want to be.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Will Brill is an actor. He sat down with me on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to talk about the work.
Do you have a typical way that you like to begin your preparation process when you get a new character? Like is there a typical first step that you take always? Like when you head down this road to try and wrap your arms around this next person?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, like there have been different things that I have leaned toward in the past. I think Reg, who I'm playing in Stereophonic, is like a vestige of this older way of working that I had, which was I would always try to find a character's voice first. And because it's, when you sit down and you read a thing, it's the first way that you can connect. Like if you've never read the thing before, you can just start saying the guy's words, and however he's coming out of your mouth is a clue into what your in is going to be. And so for Reg, like the first time I read him, he sounded pretty much exactly like what he sounds like now. But also I started working on this play. The first time I worked on this play was 9 years ago. So I've been like doing other stuff along the way, and finding new processes and playing people who are closer to my own personal lived experience. Even though Reg is like very close to my lived experience, he is also, from a different part of the world. And but yeah, I would say that like, especially nowadays, I don't really have, there's more and I hate admitting this, but there is more consideration as to the practicalities outside of the project than I had when I was growing up or when I was starting in the industry. Like when I was at my like creatively most fulfilling 12 years ago, not to say that I'm not creatively fulfilled right now, but like 12 years ago, I remember feeling so alive and so stimulated. And I was also like sharing a mattress on the floor of my best friend's living room, and like I could just do that. And nowadays, like when I get like a script for a horror movie, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be working nights and I'm gonna be bloody and sticky for like most of the shoot. Am I feeling up to that? And is the money worth it? Right. So that's like a different thing that I'm sort of like annoyed at myself has become a part of the.
But should that really be annoying to you? Shouldn't that be a great sign that you are in a place where you can have those thoughts?
Yeah, and that I've learned something, that I've like had the experience of being on a terrible shoot that was horribly uncomfortable, and sort of like knowing about myself that, I don't take to, I think there are people who do take to that kind of situation, and I'm just not one of them, and I do feel lucky to know that about myself.
And I'm sure if the other factors were like, this was a director you always wanted to work with, you'd be sticky as hell and loving it.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
totally.
that factors in too, right?
Yeah.
Let's like get yourself off the hook here about that.
I imagine you've probably heard there's like a rule that a lot of actors try to live by, that there's like a triangle of like money, people, and material.
Yeah,
and if
yeah,
you have like two of them, then you
Yeah,
like
right.
have to do the job.
Right.
But if
right.
one of them like really overweighs the other two,
Right.
you should still do it. Yeah.
And that seems like a good thing to live by, because it's also about your health, right? I mean, your mental health. that's the product you're giving us too. You're working with that tool
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
And if you're not in your best place mentally, you can't give it to us properly.
There is it's wild. Maybe the conversation steered in this direction just because it's like on my mind and in my emotional field right now. But you know, we're negotiating right now to extend the run of Stereophonic, and one of the big like negotiating points along the way has been how many performances we're doing in a week. We're doing 8, and for a 3-hour, 20-minute show, it's a lot. And for some of the emotional and physical expenditure that the show demands, it's really tough. And so there has been this whole talk around like health days, like, which, you know, paid days of leave where you can go like take care of yourself physically, emotionally, mentally. And we're just like in the thick of it right now. I've been like really struggling with the whole dynamic, but
this is also, it's also 3.5 hours, but you're performing music, which is something that actors don't normally do in a 3-hour show, right?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, so that also has to, I mean, and that's a major part of the selling point of the whole thing. It's not like just like this fun thing that actors do in the show.
Yeah.
You have to, those songs have to be good. They can't just be like you performing like an actor. I mean, you performing like your character, and if you mess up, that's fine. Because the character messes up.
Sure.
It has to be on point as music.
Yeah. And you have to mess up when the character messes up. Like there are certain parts where the character is demanded to mess up, and you have to do those. There's other times when like you have to be, I mean, me specifically, there's a part where I have to be fucked up beyond all reckoning, and in that moment I have to play my most demanding bass line in the show, and I have to deliver it perfectly because he is, you know, later referred to as a virtuoso. And so like to be like a non-musician, like having to deliver every time is insane.
It's insane. But let's I want to just go back to the idea of the voice for a second, because this is a particular what I think is, although I'm not an accent aficionado, but I think it's a pretty incredible accent. I don't know if you're getting reviews from actual people in that part of England, but it seems like that they are applauding it, right? I would hope so.
It's been really cool,
So that, like, do accents first of all come easy to you? Did they ever not come easy to you? Is it if they do come easy, is this the way in, even when somebody doesn't necessarily have an accent, like you're saying, because voice comes first a lot? Do you have to get that down before you can lace the other stuff on top of it?
It depends. It's like there are a couple of schools of thought on it. In college, there was a school of thought that was like, when you're approaching a character with an accent, approach him first as you would in your own voice, so that you have the range and dynamism that your own voice possesses before you try to layer this other thing on top of it. I have always thought that the danger of that approach is that not all cultures use the same kind of range and dynamism that, you know, a kid from California uses in his voice, or they have more, or they have, you know, like an Italian is going to speak with a larger vocal range than I'm going to. So like, I think like where the region that you come from dictates a lot of that. With, you know, sometimes I need help with the sounds more than other times. Weirdly, oh my God, I wonder if I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but like with Reg, I was like making it up. Like when he first appeared out of my voice, I don't know if I had heard somebody with this accent somewhere before, but I was just making it up. I was just like, this is what he sounds like to me on the page. And then the playwright was like, yes, that's what he sounds like to me. Don't change it. Wow. And then I've had a lot of Brits come and be like, oh my God, I know exactly who that guy is. I've hung out with that guy before. Is there somebody that you're mimicking? And and so it's odd as an actor to sometimes hit on something that is coming out of your imagination that people are like, oh, I have seen that, or I have experienced that. There's a kind of responsibility that you have to take where you're like, I don't actually know this experience. I am pretending to have this experience. But I'm pretending it so that you feel held, that you feel seen, you know, but I don't actually know what you have gone through.
And do you account anything mystically to that? Like that you're channeling this dude?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to try to figure out too deeply exactly what is happening, but I do feel like in touch with something. I mean, when this is at its best, people want to dissect what happened on stage. Yeah. And sometimes you come off stage and you're like, I blacked out. I don't know what happened. I was, having a great time, I think, but I don't really recollect all of it. This play is kind of different because it's so emotionally and physically taxing that often you go out and you're like, okay, how is my voice going to handle screaming today? And that sort of can pull you out of the experience. But when it's going gangbusters, it's your just channel is open and something is coming and possessing you for a little bit.
Let's step back for a second and talk to me a little bit about when you decided that you wanted to take this seriously, this endeavor of acting. Was there a moment? Was there an experience that brought you from being mildly interested in this to I want to do this with my life?
To my parents' credit, when I was 5 years old, I got on a table at Thanksgiving and I announced to everyone I will be singing my song now, which nobody had expected. And my parents were like, oh, he's a performer. This is why he's bad at sports. He's, he wants to sing and dance. And they threw me into children's theater, which was amazing. And they drove me to children's theater. And I grew up loving it so much that it was really, I barely thought about other things. It was kind of a foregone conclusion that I would perform in my life. I don't think I seriously considered anything else other than, I mean, I was really obsessed with magic and I thought I was going to be a magician for a while. And then there was a moment where I felt so strange that I had happened into the Bay Area in California, being born into a middle-class white family. All of a sudden when I was 12, I realized what kind of a cosmic jackpot that was, how easy my life had suddenly become. I was very young when I sort of gained this knowledge that as far as the entire world and the entire population, I've been given a leg up somehow. And I felt kind of existentially guilty, and I felt this sort of burden to give back in some way. And embarrassingly, the first way that I thought I should give back was I should join the American military. That's the thing I should do to give back. Yes. And that idea dissipated very quickly. Thank God. But over time was sort of like kept with the performing and kept with acting, and it became this like desire to sort of like unearth myself and unearth the like potentiality of the human experience. And like it took a lot of years, but like eventually what I realized I was doing was trying to create an empathy machine, which I think theater and the performing arts are at their, you know, when they're really firing on all cylinders, is like creating an opportunity for people to see themselves and to grow by seeing themselves. And I was like, okay, well maybe this is what I could be good at. And so I really like, it took me a long time to realize that that's what I was doing, but there was a lot of just sort of like marching by rote, like toward the thing that felt good. And I had a crazy amount of support to do it.
Is there a moment where you felt like you went from not being in control of your craft to being in control? And what was that? Can you tell me what it was? Or maybe you were watching someone and you took from them something that has helped you still. I just want to see if I can pinpoint a moment where it's like, all right, now I know how to do this. Like, I don't think anybody still knows how to do it, right?
Yeah, totally.
I think that's what I've learned from this podcast. Like, there's surgery that's done, and somebody could be like, all right, after the 7th one, I know how to do this now. And they can go to the person and be like, ma'am, you're in good hands here.
Yeah.
You can't go to a director and say, you're in good hands here, because that otherwise I don't think that's a good actor. An actor might be like,
totally.
Right? If you're a good actor, you're like, I don't know if I could do this, but I want to try.
Yeah.
Even after you've won an award, top award, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think unfortunately, like that's my answer is like, I know that there were times when I looked at other actors and said, I don't know how they're doing that. And I don't think I'll ever get to that level, but I would like to try. Like that's the thing that I'm working toward. And this is a lesson for like a lot of my life, but I have sort of come to peace with like not knowing what other people see in what I'm doing, knowing that it's working and knowing that I am enjoying myself. But I'll tell you, like still a lot of the time I get a piece of text to audition for and it really resonates with me, and I think I have an in on this that nobody else could, and I record my audition and I look at it and I say, that is fucking bogus. He's so bad, like this guy should, like who told him he could act? And sure enough, I send it off and they're like, it was bad, you know? And like, it's not like, oh, and then they're like, no, but you're amazing. It's like, no, it's bad. And so I don't know, like sometimes it hits and sometimes it doesn't. And I think my career would be really different if I had more insight into why some things work and some things don't. I think what I have going for me is that I try really hard, and I really like being around people, and so I try to be liked. There's like, you know, a certain amount of people pleasing that is bullshit, but there's also a certain amount that like we're social creatures and we like being social creatures. And so I think those are things that I have going for me in this business.
When I heard you tell the story of kind of getting in the sphere of being considered for the role of Reg, and we're going way back now, 10 years or so. But it was interesting, and I wanted to pinpoint this moment because I think that this is important for actors to hear. You were already a working actor on stage, people knew you in New York, but yet the way you describe it is, and tell me if I'm wrong, is you went to see something that David was doing and thought to yourself, I got to follow him to the bar.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Because that's That's where the cool kids are. Something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
And then you were there, and he said amazingly to you at some point during that night, I think you're going to be in this play.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that this is really important because, like, you can have talent, you could be in the mind of people sort of peripherally, but you also have to follow somebody to the bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to, like, put yourself around people.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just thinking of that because you just said you like people. And I think that that's unfortunately part of this. Like, a lot of great actors are anxious or they're socially awkward and they don't want to put themselves in rooms. Then if you can't, you have to do it some other way, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Did you consciously think, I have to get myself seen in front of this person in this way?
No, it wasn't like that. It was, he was doing, so what it was, I had been invited by new dramatists to workshop a play in progress. They do this amazing thing where for a week or two, they invite a bunch of playwrights and pair them up with directors. And then in turn, those playwright and director teams invite a bunch of actors to come and play with them. And it's amazing. It's like, let's all work on things. We don't have to share what we're working on. We don't have to read things. We'd like it if you would talk about your process a little bit, whatever. And so I was working on a play that Kate Fodor was writing and Eliza Costable was directing. And then I saw David Adjmi talk about this play that he had written 7 pages of. He was like, mostly we watched YouTube videos, but we hung out and I wrote 7 pages and who knows if it will be anything. And I saw that the people he was with were Alex Hurt and Rebecca Hart and Tom Ryan, who I had been a long time admirer of, and my new-ish friend Gail Rankin, who I had done a play with several years before. We played brother and sister for a year. And really, I followed Gail to the bar or a cafe. It was in the afternoon, and there is this great picture of David's cast, Lucas Nath, and me. And we all just got together and I think ate sandwiches, and I think even I might have had a play that night. Like I might have had to go to the play, but I knew that I wanted to hang out with Gail, and I wanted to meet some of these other people because I thought they were cool. And David, was like mustache, sleeveless shirt, big anchor tattoo on his bicep. And I was like, this guy is cool and weird. And yeah, in that conversation, he was like, I think you might be in the, and to his credit, David is psychic. And so like he, he has that going for him. But he was like, yeah, I think you'll be in this play someday.
Which
not
is a
knowing me
crazy
from
thing
Adam.
to say to somebody.
Crazy. And it was still like a year before, no, it was like several months before we workshopped the play. And at that point he was like, oh, definitely you're going to be in this play. Like this voice, this is exactly who the guy is.
Yeah.
So,
but what do you think about that though? That is that just about following? Like, what you could have went home and taken a nap before the play. That's what I mean. Like, is it important for the actor's work to kind of be around people that you are interested in?
I wonder, because like what you're saying is right too, that there are performers who are not inherently social people.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely a very social person, and I think honestly, like, I don't know. Okay, I won a Tony, sure, but like I don't know that I'm like the best actor. Like I think like I'm a very personable person, and I think like half of the jobs that I've gotten are because like I'm fun to be around and I'm fun to have in the room, and I like really, and sometimes I also worry that I like joke around too much in the room, but like I think that I am I think part of the thing that puts me in the place, like as much, if not more than my talent, is like that I'm a good teammate and that I'm like a fun person. And I wonder for people who struggle more with wanting to be around people or wanting to be social, what it is like for them in these situations. I imagine it's really different. For me, it is, I went and did a job in Toronto and was really sad. And like, I was a couple of years out from my divorce, and I was really disillusioned with New York, and I was like, maybe I want to be somewhere else maybe I want to live somewhere else. And eventually I was like, oh no, I have a community and I need that community. And then I came back and, me and my friends put up Uncle Vanya in a loft, and it was like maybe the most transcendent theatrical experience in my life. Like,
talk about that, because were you already a Chekhov fan before that?
I
love that.
Really, yeah. I mean, I'd never seen Uncle Vanya. I had like maybe read Vanya.
Yeah.
I don't know that I had actually read the whole play. We hadn't had a Chekhov class in school, so I didn't really know him very well. Yeah. I had seen some plays at like the Oregon Shakespeare Festival and really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
But I didn't exactly get the hype. And then when we started working on it, because it was really just like, I was trying to figure out things that I could do with my friends, things that Cromer would want to do.
Yeah.
And when I pitched Uncle Vanya, he was like, oh, can I play Vanya? And it was my friend Julia Chan who pitched Vanya to me. She was like, we should do Vanya together. And then this group of people came together around me and David, I guess. And when we started working on it, Marin, Ireland, and I were like, and Julia, we were like, this is the most difficult thing we've ever done in our lives. This is like, why did we do this? Why did we decide to sell tickets to this? This is so embarrassing. Yeah. And then, but like, it wound up being so fulfilling also, as I think like.
Did that thought ever go away though?
No. Oh, no. Oh, hell no. No, I mean, like, every single performance, it was like, oh my God, the drunk scene was so unbelievable. It was so stupid. Like, I can't believe, like, we're going out and embarrassing ourselves. And, like, Julia and I would text each other every day about, like, the seduction scene that we would have together and just be like, wow, it's really... It's dead. We can't find it. It's all one note. We would be like, are we doing anything worthwhile? And then it would go through like phases. It would be like the drunk scene was really fun and really great, but like nothing was happening in the seduction scene. And then they would switch. But like kind of all through, like that challenge was so fun, was so delicious. Like going out there and not knowing what was going to happen and then hearing the audience ride the wave with us was, I mean, it was so electric. It was so much fun.
What about the intimacy factor?
I mean, it was like, it was so dreamy. It was like we had only one big room for our dressing room.
Yeah.
So like, it was like, there were these amazing 80-year-old women in the show who I was like, changing next to every day. And like, so like the HR jokes were amazing. But like that kind of intimacy was unbelievable. And then like whenever anybody had anything personal that they were going through, there was no hiding. Like we were all right next to each other constantly. And all, for a play that is about people who are emotionally so separate and so entangled with each other, it was a really kind of perfect experience. It was nuts. And like we were getting paid garbage. The first time we did it, we got paid $100 a week or something. Wow. It was nuts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you gotten an idea at this point of what works for you in terms of a director? Maybe theater directing and film directing are different in terms of what you need. Mm-hmm. But can you pinpoint for us aspects that work best for you?
Sure. I think that for me personally, and who knows what this says about my psychology, but like I really thrive with positive affirmation. And I think a lot of actors do. I think we are attention hungry creatures. And I think we are, as a society, sort of like moving away from the mythos of like the tortured artist who needs to be like badgered or belittled into like an emotional state in order to get the thing. But I know that like when I have, I worked on this TV show a couple years ago, and a couple of the lead actors got COVID. And so my big scenes of the episode all got moved up 2 weeks. And the director of that episode, who was supposed to be starting pre-production, who had flown in the night before, all of a sudden had to direct those scenes immediately. It was her first day on set. It was my first day on set. And we were just filming like 10 pages of my stuff. And she wound up, she was so supportive. She was so thrilled with the work that was happening that she just kept coming in. She would drop some suggestions, and then she would be like, but it's amazing. Keep playing, like go wild, like get weird. And that kind of fun energy was really exciting. 14 years ago, I did another band thing. I did a movie with David Chase where I was in a band and I was playing guitar. And after the first week of guitar lessons, David came in and like lay on the floor of the studio to listen to us play. And I don't know if you've ever seen David Chase, but he's like a pretty intimidating looking dude. He's like tough, like looks tough. He's like a real sweetheart, but he like looks very tough. And he like lay there and very like stoically listened to us, just like horribly, no rhythm, no ability, like people slamming on drums and like really staring at our fingers, trying to play these chords. And we just looped 3 chords for like 5 minutes until, our fingers could not take it anymore. And we stopped, and David lay there and then went, "That's so fucking amazing." And he was like so thrilled. He was so happy. He was like, "I can't believe that this is coming true. Like, this is such a dream." And it was that kind of energy that was like, "Oh yeah, we can do this. Anything's possible." So I would say
it's a miracle. That story is a miracle of affirmation.
Yeah,
that's what that is.
Totally.
That means you can do it.
Yeah, and you're really right. Like, something we talked about off tape earlier, where you were saying that like your energy as a director does a lot for actors. Daniel Ocken, who I was just working with on Stereophonic, is a really big believer in that specifically. He talks a lot about how he will pinpoint a note to give to an actor, and then we'll sit on it for a week sometimes, maybe more, because he's like, energetically, I want to let this actor have their process, and I don't want to communicate something to them in a way that is going to, negate a bunch of other work that is happening. And so he's very, very protective of actor energy. He'll give notes in private to actors. He really believes that less is more as far as directing goes. So there's a lot of just like, he'll build an actor's confidence over a course of a few weeks and just let them run wild in a way that's really helpful.
Isn't it true that there has to be some kind of, although you want a strong hand, there has to be some kind of time to allow your own creating to happen.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Before you want this hand to come in and kind of steer you somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it feels like when that hand comes in too soon, even though you trust the person, even though they might be right.
Yeah.
Something is being stunted.
Yeah, it can be really difficult to to try to be
Stir that up.
result oriented very
Yes.
early.
Yes.
That is always a really huge danger. I heard a great story recently about an actor coming into a rehearsal process with a costume piece and saying, I think I'm gonna need this costume piece. I think this will be definitive for my character. And the director privately disagreeing, but saying like, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's like see what happens, and allowing the actor to sort of eventually, I think a couple days later being like, I don't know what I was thinking. I can't, like, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, you know, like Daniel let me wear a cape for many rehearsals until I think tech for one of the scenes in the show. I would walk in wearing a cape, and I think it was finally the costume designer who was like, it's not going to be a scene about a cape. Let's not do this. But like he really let me bring that energy into the room, which was cool.
I want to see that now. I want to see the cape.
You know, they've gifted me the cape, which is really nice. I am going to be taking it home. I have a picture actually somewhere in here. I'll send you the picture of me in the cape.
What is your pre-show ritual? And how important is it? How has it developed? Is it a constant, and is something specific about it now with this role?
Yeah, definitely. With this role, I mean, well, to tell you how the pre-show ritual has developed, when I was doing Tribes off Broadway, which is the show that Gail and I played brother and sister in, I was 25, and my pre-show ritual warm-up was a cup of coffee and a cigarette. And I was invincible. I could do anything, you know? I was like, I remember very flippantly saying to somebody, like, somebody was like, how do you warm up? And I was like, you're looking at it, baby. Like, that's so gross. But now I have to have my vocal warm up beforehand. There's a group vocal warm up that's voluntary, but I have to participate every day. For my vocal health. And then after that, the whole band plays together. We all play together.
Do you play the songs, or do you play something else?
We play the songs.
Okay.
And there was a time, you know, the more you do a piece of theater, the more it sort of gets in your bones, and the more you are able, or I'll speak for myself, the more I'm able to take it off more quickly, put it on and take it off more quickly. Like at the beginning of the run, I would say like I had to meditate before the show. I had to really like get in the zone of Reg. And then after the show, it would really take me a long time to let all of that energy dissipate. And now like I can put him on and take him off pretty quickly. Thank God, because he's a lot to live in. But like, some of the physical stuff is still a challenge. I mean, we were talking, I mentioned earlier that we were in this conversation about health days in the negotiations. And that is because the problem with doing a really physically taxing role over a period of time is that it damages your body. Like there's no way around that. And it's why dancers, you know, end their careers by 30. And so like I'm today having an extra session with our vocal coach so that she can help me out with my larynx. And then like next week I have an hour session with our physical therapy person to see what we can do about my voice. That stuff is really real and continues to be a fluctuating part of the process. Because you don't want to like go out and give a compromised performance. You know, you want people to see the play is about people who are destroying themselves, and that's part of the thing you have to show.
Have you ever been in a play that went on so long that you were praying for it to end?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to say which,
Oh,
but
of course not. No.
Yeah.
But what do you do? Because people are paying to come see that. And you're praying for it to end. And so how do you? What do you do to keep the idea of somebody's out there excited to see this, and I need to bring everything right now.
Yeah.
Even though I don't feel it.
I mean, that has to be part of the paradigm. That's kind of an unshakable, like, the show is the show and I have to do the show. When it's really, really hard, you rely on your people, the people that you're there with a lot. And usually it is a very cool, very wonderful tribe that actors have, but sometimes there are personalities that clash and it becomes hard to even find your support system inside of the show. And when that happens, it can be really, really tough, but usually there's a way to like entertain yourself throughout the process and to keep making yourself giggle or tickled or touched in some kind of way that keeps the thing alive. I haven't ever gotten to the place where I don't have somebody who I feel supported by, or like I don't have something in the material that I can enjoy. Like I've never been in that place, but I have been in the place where like, oof, this is long in the tooth and I need to, and I'm counting my days. I think most actors have gotten to that place.
A very interesting thing happened when you won the Tony Award, which is I was around a bunch of actors that night. I don't know who knew. I didn't know the Tonys were on.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know if either they did and pretended like they didn't know, or they didn't know. But at one point, somebody said, "Oh my God, Will Brill won the Tony," and it wasn't like it was. It was said like it was a friend. But then what happened is, on social media, a lot of the people who I know were posting stuff and saying stuff about you that like it was like one of us won.
Yeah.
Right? And it was like a nice thing that I don't normally see. I want to know what you do now to keep that aspect of yourself. Even though you've hit the stratosphere in terms of success, right? Not everybody gets a top acting award like this, and yet still stays as the working actor friend person. And I think that there's something very valuable about that. That I think that's what got you here in a way.
Yeah, totally. Agreed.
And do you think about stuff like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think the Tony will necessarily like change my life. And like, I've spent many, many years sort of, it's so complicated. You spend so many years being like, we're not doing this for awards.
Yeah.
I don't care about Tonys. I don't care about Emmys. I don't care about Oscars. Like, this isn't the reason that we do this thing. But like, then you get nominated and your 7-year-old brain like lights up and you're like, holy shit, me?
Yeah.
And that is a really complicated thing to deal with. But I do think my girlfriend was saying, she was like, she really feels like the Tonys this year were a really great moment for like journeyman actors like Cara Young and Keisha Lewis and me and Jeremy Strong, who like was an off-Broadway darling, which is to say like when you say off-Broadway darling, it means somebody who's not making money in the theater and who is living like paycheck to paycheck. And Jeremy slogged it out doing very good work for a very long time before achieving, this like great and deserved success that he is enjoying. So my girlfriend was very like, I think, and it also goes to the thing that I said earlier of like, I don't know how much it's my talent and how much it is like being a part of the community. Like I really feel like I'm a part of this community, and that's been a thing that I've been working on for many years. And that's also not to say that I'm even like the most liked person in this community, because there are plenty of people who don't like me, and that's okay. Like that is another part of this thing, that people have their preferences, and we all have histories, and like I have behaved badly in this business, and I have learned lessons from that and try to behave differently in retrospect. But like there is something about winning that award that kind of felt like, oh, I am, for better and for worse, I'm a part of the New York theater community, and like it's exactly where I want to be, you know.
What role do you want to do? I don't want you to be specific. I always tell people, you don't have to be specific. I want you to be specific. Tell me what role you always wanted to do and you want to do it now.
It's crazy. So there are like roles that I think the time is running out on for me. Like, you know, I'm not, this is so fucked up, but like, I'm not convinced I want to do Hamlet, but like, yeah, it would be nice to have the challenge, you know. A role that like I've always loved, and that I think the play is so overdone, but like I've always wanted to play George in All My Sons, who is not like the main character's son, but the other son who comes in for that one scene. I think it's like such a beautiful and heartbreaking role. But I do really feel that the most, I take that back. I was about to say that the most rewarding roles are the ones that you create, but like I played Astrov last year, and it was like one of the most transcendent experiences of my life. But I do believe that like some of the most fun I'm ever gonna have are roles that haven't been written yet. I mean, this version of Roy Cohn that I got to play in Fellow Travelers was a fucking miracle of a role in a miracle of a process. And playing Ryan in A Case for the Existence of God with my homie Kyle Beltran, like that was an absolute dream role. And playing Reg has been a dream. And like those were three things that didn't exist before, you know, I guess Case was written, I'm not sure when he finished Case, 2019, 2018? Anyway, but you know, they didn't exist for a period of time. So I really believe that the best things are yet to come. And I am really fucking excited to see what they are.
Thank you so much, Will Brill.
Dude,
I really appreciate it.
Thank you. What a pleasure this has been. Such a joy.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.